Hey, everybody.
Nick Sirianni Live, presented by Premier Orthopedic.
Yeah, obviously a lot of different things go into making any play work, run game, pass game, anything. So I wouldn't say there's one particular thing of it being efficient. We know we got to be more efficient with how we coach it, with how we call it, with how we with how we execute it.
You've been blitzed at a high rate through these first three games. How do you feel your built-in answers have helped Jalen when he's hot?
Yeah. Those happen in different ways. All right. Sometimes it's checked, sometimes it's built in. There's always different options with that. Um, and I think we've done a good job so far with it. I think teams do that to create a chaos with it. And I think Jalen has shown that he's continuing to develop and become better and better and better at handling it. A couple things that happened in the last two games where he's made some big time plays with some pressures. You make those plays and you don't stop seeing it until you make those plays. And I think when you see the Kansas City one to Devontae, there's been a bunch, but particularly the Kansas City one to Devontae, and then the touchdown against the Rams, that's going to put more and more fear into the defense to be able to run that. So I think Kevin's done a nice job and Stout and everybody involved on the offensive side of giving us answers. And I think that players have been executing that at a high level, particularly in that pass game.
Jordan Davis played at such a high level in these first three games. What does it take for a player to get to that point when maybe the early part of his career isn't as successful?
Yeah. Everybody, I think we've talked about this just with a lot of things. I think everybody wants instant gratification. That's just not the reality of the sport. And I know there's a lot of guys that there's guys that come in and play instantly, play really good. But to reach your level as a player, there are steps to it. Just like I kind of talked about, there's steps to developing to play your best football by the end of the year. There's steps to it. And so I think the main thing that came to my mind was, patience. And again, I know we try to live different than the outside world here because a football building's different than the outside world. We have to have our process. We have to have, our steps to reach our potential. And so, I think it's just a good example of a guy continuing to work, continuing to get better because he should be playing better football now than he was when he first entered the NFL. He's put a lot of work into it and has won and played in a lot of meaningful games and won against really good players in practice. I mean, it all contributes to that. And so, but I think at the end of the day, we always talk about in the draft process, you want to find guys that are tough, right? Jordan Davis is that both physically, mentally, plays with relentless effort, and you want to find guys that love football because God willing, those are the guys that tend to reach their ceiling, and I think that's what you're seeing is that's why he keeps getting better.
To get back to the running game, do you kind of see like the way you guys were able to establish the pass in the second half is something that could open things up for Saquon in the running game? I mean, and it's kind of backwards, but
yeah,
that's
yeah, of course. Again, anytime they're keying in on something, and when you have the guys that we have and the coaches that we have, when they key in on something else, when you give a little on one end, you're gonna give up a little bit, right, and vice versa. So. Yeah, every game and every situation and every scenario presents different problems, different things. We always want to be on the attack mode as an offense, and so again, we'll do whatever we need to do to win each and every game. Obviously, we want to build leads and get up on the opponent. But if we have to win a game like we won last week, we'll do that as well. So, I think we want to be more efficient, all right, in the run game area right now. And I think there's many different ways that can it could be a different scheme. It could be a different blocking technique. It could be the pass game. There's a lot of different things that could play into it.
Are you CJ Gardner-Johnson back? Are you interested in bringing CJ Gardner-Johnson back?
I really am excited about the room that we have. I think they've done a really nice job to date. Got a good young player in Andrew Makuba, who's continues to get better. And I think that having Reed, next to him, is helping him get better. And just as how Reed got better, having Marcus Epps in the building, and Reed said that. I've said that in here before about Marcus Epps. So just really excited about that room. Sydney's doing a really good job. He's doing a good job on special teams and doing some work on defense as well. So I'm really excited about that group and pleased with that group.
When you look at Tampa Bay's success that they've had against you, is there a consistency that you've seen over that time, or an inconsistency on your guys' part during that time?
Yeah, obviously, we've dating back to 2021. I think we played them in 21. And twice they beat us. We played them in 23. We split with them, and then obviously they beat us last year. So another team kind of like the Chiefs, where we've played them a bunch over these past 5 years. And so you're always looking at those old games to kind of identify the things that they did well, the things that you did well, to see if you can repeat them. And so that's always on our mind when we're playing a team is, what do we think they did well that they would repeat? What do we think that they won't do because we hurt them on it, and vice versa.
And what have you seen from them on film this year, first couple of weeks?
It's a really good football team. I can't tell you how much respect I talked about how much respect I had for Coach McVay last week. The feeling is completely mutual for Coach Bowles and his staff. Man, is he a good football coach? And we played against him. I can think back to 2014 in a game we had when he was the Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator that they got us. I think we lost 19-17 or something like that, but he always presents problems. I think back to the 2019 when I was with the Colts, where they got us 38-35. Just it always does a really good job of presenting problems. And I think, you always look at that first, but then you see his team play with great fundamentals and great detail. Got a lot of respect for that. Yeah, I think they've done a good job building the team. They got playmakers everywhere. Those two backs that they have are really, really good. I think Baker Mayfield's playing outstanding football. And receiving core, offensive line, go Vita Vea, who's been there forever, feels like been there forever, right? And the things that he can do, two good corners with Dean and McCollum. Winfield's made a ton of plays. Levante David's been a star in this league for a long time, so they know how to win. And I think it's because, first Coach Bowles, and then all the guys that they've had that's had a lot of success there. Like I said, Vita Vea's been there through all these wins, and Levante David, Winfield feels like he's been there forever. So a lot of respect for this opponent. And, there's a reason they keep winning their division. It's because it's a really good well-coached, good football team.
Went into the decision, Nick, to leave a day early for Tampa.
Yeah, everything we do is to try to give ourselves the best chance, that our process is right to give ourselves the best chance to win. If your process is off, then, you don't have as much of a chance. And so that was part of our process when we studied some things in the off season with the heat and everything like that. Get out there a day earlier to acclimate, one less day, off the plane before you play a game. So those are a couple things to name a few.
Going back to the
different
run game, how do you
different head
evaluate?
coaches always stress different things. It seems like you've always really stressed and emphasized situational football. Was there a moment in your career where you decided that was something that really mattered to you, and why do you put so much emphasis on it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Elliot. I think when I first got into the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs, kind kind of learned that Patriot system slash Parcells system, right? Todd Haley was a Bill Parcells, from his tree, and then obviously we had a lot of guys from the Patriots tree, which they always, put such good emphasis on situational football, having confidence, that when you're in situational football that you've been through those things so many times that you're going to handle that your process is right, that you're going to give yourself the best chance to handle them. And I kind of fell in love with that, because there are so many games in this league that come down to one score games. Like the parity of this league is pretty cool. It's really, um, it's really cool. So, but those are the things like, I always think, in those scenarios when you can have that confidence because you've been through it 1,000 times, those are key in moments like that where it's high stress, like in high stressful moments, I don't know that phrase, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. I think I said it right. But, and so, the team that builds better habits, you know, is going to have a better product. And that's what we think a lot about.
Spacing on some of the pass plays have been it's been not particularly in sync. Guys on top of each other. Is that a product of design or guys not running correct routes?
Yeah, we don't like to put guys on top of each other in the concept. So yeah, there's multiple reasons for that. When you do have that, again, I believe you're probably talking about the one in the game, because it didn't happen a lot, but there was one in the game in the LA game where we had two guys there, and when you see that, there's some sort of miscommunication that happened on the play. That could be from coaches, that could be from players, that could be from what there's many different reasons. Obviously, I'll never come up here and say what it is, particularly when it's something like that. Even though I respect your question, but there's always a different reason when that happens. Our job, I think, one of the biggest things when we talk about detail is we all need to be on the same page. Defensively, the easiest way to give up a big play is when you're not on the same page, and vice versa. And on the other end, when you're not on the same page as an offense, bad things tend to happen, negative plays, turnovers, definitely not being efficient, so we, that's why we work so hard in the walkthroughs, that we're full speed to the snap and walkthrough and our minds working, so we can eliminate those as much as possible. That's always something that when we review the tape, we're looking for that and stressing that in here. Hey, we got to be on the same page because this game too comes down to those matchups and the talent that you have, and we have great talent. But that talent can't shine unless you are on the same page. So we know how important that is because we talk about it a lot. Like, master the things that require no talent, so your talent can shine.
Last one.
You mentioned a football building has to be a little bit different than the outside world. When you hear the word like conservative, what do you think that disconnect is that people from outside maybe don't understand?
Yeah. I don't try to wrap myself into, what anybody outside this building thinks, or everyone is entitled to their opinion. We're going to do everything we can do to win the game. We want to make sure that, and I know I've talked to you guys about this a lot. We want to be explosive, because we know that factors into winning games, and we also want to be able to protect the football and take the football away. I know those things don't always live in the same world. I think they can live in the same world. Obviously our success that we've had, they have lived in the same world. And so, again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. We can't wrap ourselves up in any of that. Our job is to figure out ways to win, to put our players in positions to succeed. Our players' job is to go out there and execute, play with great fundamentals and great detail together and tough. And yeah, I think, what an example too. I think that a lot of people were saying that last year about our team. right? And again, I'm not going to try to get back into last year too much, but you know, if we would have caught ourselves so wrapped up in that last year, it would have affected the way, if you get yourself too wrapped up in that or wrapped up at all in that takes away some of the time that you can put in to, you know, doing what you need to do and go out in there and trying to win every game. So you can't get too wrapped up in that. And again, you always got to do everything you can do to win each and every football game, and every football game looks a little different.
All right, we've got special teams in 7 minutes.